So, continuing with the Mindweaver builds. This one's actually a little bit more balanced. You do have a little bit more concessions to make in here, opposite to the one that we previously posted. I believe it was the Force Blade. That guy was really broken. So remember that this is a mod that's available on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. All of the platforms that you have out there. The mod is available in every single platform. All you have to do is just go and look for the Mindweaver that you can see right here. In today's build, we're going to be building the Void River, which is essentially a fighter or warrior or scoundrel that it's going to be using the psychic powers to deal damage and to attack from shadows. There's a lot of synergies when it comes to cantrips with this class, but I'd say that out of the mold that I have tried, this one seems to be the less powerful. Not that it's not that powerful, it is very powerful, and you can reach up to 30 armor class with some of the traits that you have in here, but it takes quite a little bit longer to kill things, so it has lots of survivability, but yeah, it doesn't have as much damage as other classes. So then again, the subclass is the Void River, and then let's go through the ability scores. Remember that your ability scores are going to be determined depending on the act that you are playing on at that time. So your ability scores are going to be different from Act 1, 2, and 3. Luckily enough, we have respect, so you are going to be respecting at least this character on each specific given act that you are on. Your main focus is going to be Dexterity, Constitution, and Intelligence. Constitution to sustain concentration. Intelligence is going to give you attack and damage rolls for certain cantrips and spells. Dexterity is going to give you attack, damage, and armor class. So attack rolls, damage rolls, and armor class. So naturally, the main stat that you are going to need is going to be Dexterity, because we're also going to be taking moderately armor. That means that your Dexterity should always be looking on 17, because this is going to get 1 extra point from moderately armored. And then the second focus is going to be Intelligence. Your Intelligence should be on 16. Finally, the rest of the points are going to go into Constitution, but you can also have some extra points in here so that you wouldn't have negative ability scores on your stats. But then again, you're going to be changing some things back and forth. So for example, on the second act of the game, you get access to gloves of dexterity that are going to give you dexterity into 18, meaning that you can downscale this thing right here so that you can increase your points into the rest of the stats to have a little bit more of saving throws, but also proficiency with charisma if you're going to be using this as your main character. So this is ideally how your character should be looking like on the second act of the game. Now in the third act of the game, you have access to enough stuff that a weapon, at least for the itemization in here, I'm using a weapon that gives you strength on itself. Not that you're going to be needing strength for anything, but it's going to give you saving throws. It's going to set your strength to 18. Remember then again that your dexterity should be sitting at 17 to increase it with 1 more point to later on have it on 20. And then your Constitution, it's going to be 0 because you're going to be using the Amulet of Constitution that leaves you some extra little points right in here to have into Wisdom or Charisma. And Charisma being a little bit more important if you want to be the face of the party. So this is how ideally how your character should be looking like. The cantrips that are going to be needed as a must is going to be the Mind Force Blades, because this is going to infuse your weapons with more weapon damage with psychic damage and weapon damage with force damage. Then I also like to take the Astral Shroud. It doesn't require concentration, and it basically makes you a little bit more stronger. Now on cerebral enhancements, we are only going to be taking fleets of minds. Mind over matter, it's not going to matter to us because we're going to be using medium armor. This requires for no armor or light armor to work. And then we have the intellectual agility, which gives you initiative based on your intelligence modifier, but our dexterity is so high that our initiative is always going to be higher than anyone else's. On level 3, you get access to one more cantrip. I like to take the Void Shift because it allows you to have mobility throughout the battlefield. As for the spell, the main one that you are going to be taking as a must, it's the Cognitive Reflex. This is basically a magic shield from the wizard, and it's a reaction. Anytime that someone manages to bypass their attack rules to deal damage to you, you can use this as a reaction and level 1 spell slot to increase your armor class by 5, and that's going to last for the entirety of that turn, meaning that this is natively 5 more armor class all throughout the rendition of that turn, meaning that all throughout the fights you are going to have that extra armor class. Level 4 is when we're going to be taking the monthly armor, meaning that our dexterity is going to be increased by 18 to 18, I'm sorry. Now, on level 5 you get access to more cantrips and spells, which are not going to be that consequential. You can use the ones that you would like to use. I like to take the Mind Resonance as a cerebral enhancement right in here, because this is just basically more DPS. We not want to be using Mind Strike Riposte, because we're going to be using our reaction for our armor. We're not going to be using any other reactions. So that's one thing to have in mind. Although at level 6 you get access to the Oblivion Vortex, which is going to give you a level 2 spell slot. This is going to add more CC to your character, although that's going to be shared. You're not going to have that many spell slots, and I'm going to explain to you what are you going to be using your spell slots for later on, but I think that this is a very useful one to have, of course. On level 8, you get access to a new character feat, which you're going to be using for ability improvements to increase your dexterity to 20. At this point you're already capped, and at level 12 you're going to take more points into ability improvements to increase your intelligence. Remember that based on your intelligence you are going to get some benefits from cantrips and spells, meaning that we're getting DPS out of dexterity and intelligence as well. At level 9 you get one more cerebral enhancement, and I like to take this cerebral amplification because it basically gives you more attack and damage rolls to your cantrips that you use with this class. At level 10 you get one more very powerful power spike, which is going to be the Mind Force Eruption. This is going to be your most highly damaging spell, and as a matter of fact this is AoE. It is going to cost you a level 2 spell slot, so it is very prescient, and it requires for you to have the Mind Force Blades, which I told you to take before, so you have to prepare the spell and then use it to deal AoE. My advice is that you save this thing whenever you think you can deal damage to a whole bunch of people, because it's really not worth it to use it against a single target. The final feat that we are going to be taking, it's going to be the Intelligence to 18. This is, remember again, more DPS because of dexterity intelligence. So, itemization of the character. Very simple, actually. Right now we are sitting on 23 armor class. I'm using the Cloak of Protection. I'm also using the Armor of Agility. This gives you 17 armor class, but it's also exotic material, which means that you can add your full dexterity modifier to your armor class without having any kind of restrictions to it. Meaning that if we have 20 dexterity, that's 5 points into our armor class. That's 22 armor class from the 17, and then we get one more extra from the Cloak of Protection right here. I'm using the Hilda's Gloves to increase our damage, and then the basic Strange Conduit Ring, the usual things that I like to use when I have melee classes, the Killer Sweetheart, and then the Amulet of Greater Health to be able to sustain concentration that is going to allow us to keep dealing that 1d4 psychic damage. One very interesting thing about this class is that it has a passive trait that allows you to use medium weapons like longswords right here as a dual wield weapon. So that is why we have, at least for me, I like the Sword of the Emperor. You can also have the Father Louvre right in here. It's very useful. But on the offhand, I like to take the Handmaiden's Mace because this is going to give you more strength. Not that we need the strength, but it allows you to place the rest of the points that we have right there for our character in different places to have a little bit more of saving throws. That's what it allows us to have a little bit more of charisma, and then the positive wisdom in here, the high intelligence, without having that much of a restriction. But if you don't mind about strength that much, which you're not going to be getting any damage from strength in here, you can disregard this and use something different. Remember that you can dual wield longswords with this class right here. Now, that said, you have a huge array of spells that you can use with this character, but my bread and butter, the things that I like to use the most in your main DPS, is always going to be the Mind Force Blades. This is going to increase your damage quite substantially from 17 to 44 right there, which is going to be amazing damage that you're going to be dealing to one single target. This character doesn't have extra attack, so you better be sure that you're going to be needing that extra damage, and that is why I told you that it is very important that you have the Mind Force Blade as soon as possible, because at level 10 you get access to the Mind Force Eruption, which this deals even more damage because you're adding quite a whole bunch of different damages in here, all the way from 25 to 52 damage. It doesn't sound as great. As a matter of fact, it's not as great as some of the other characters that we have built here on the channel, but remember that this is AoE, and the range on this thing, it's actually quite high. So if you have a whole bunch of clustered up enemies that you can of course cluster up if you're using, for example, the Oblivion Vortex, essentially that's a very powerful combo. However, have in mind that that is a combo that you would only be able to use like twice, because the Oblivion Vortex and the Mind Force Eruption, they are level 2 spell slots, and this class only has 3 level 2 spell slots, so that's kind of a bummer. But that's how the character works, and it's very powerful. It's very cool. This one, it's actually quite balanced, and it's fun to play. So yeah, anyways, if you like the content, a like and a video super appreciated. No, I told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're in the gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. Have a beautiful day, and goodbye.